This is a Momentum Media production. REB's The Wire. Championing the women making waves and forcing real change in the real estate profession.
Hello everyone, welcome to The Wire. It's Grace Ormsby here, joined as always by my amazing, wonderful, fantastic co-host Sadhana Smiles, the CEO of REB. Sadhana, welcome back for another episode.
Thank you, Grace. What a wonderful intro. Can you just travel with me everywhere and do that intro for me every time I have to go and speak somewhere?
Every week, honestly, I'm like, I need to think of another adjective to describe you. Got to get my thesaurus out because they're all, variations of amazing because you are so good at what you do.
Oh, thank you.
I feel very blessed that we get to do this week in and week out.
Yes, I think we're very we were saying in the previous podcast off air that we've had the most amazing guests. You and I both go into this unprepared and we bring the best out in ourselves and our guests, which is just brilliant. So enjoy doing this with you.
It's definitely a very cool journey to be on. And today we bring, I think, another fantastic, amazing guest on board because we've got Casey Healey joining us via Zoom. Casey, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's such a pleasure to be here today.
I know that you are working from home at the moment, Casey, but you are clearly doing incredible things. You're the Principal of the Year Metropolitan at the REB Women in Real Estate Awards for 2021, which is a massive achievement in itself. You are the Director and Licensee in charge, as well as a Business Development Manager with Century 21 up in Newcastle. I think I got your title right there. It is quite long.
There's a few bows to my feather, but yeah, you have nailed it. I am the director of the rent roll, more side of the business. So I don't really have any financial interest in the sales side of the business, but I run the property management team and the property management side of the business for CT1 Newcastle. How
long have you been in that role for now?
I bought into the business about 12 years ago. So I've been with CT1 Newcastle for about 14 years. I've been in property management since I left school at 17 years of age. So do your numbers, it's a fair while.
We won't give away my age heavily.
Yeah, this is where you've got to say I started when I was 10 years old and, you can go from there.
We don't know anything about maths, so the secret stays with us.
That's right. I love the fact that you're a career real estate agent, Casey. It's wonderful to because there's not many of us who, their first job was real estate and then you've kind of stayed in it. I'm the same. I started in real estate and, left for a year or two, but always came back into it. I'm fascinated and love to hear your journey into becoming a shareholder in the business because I think that's a part of that property management world that we need to do a little bit of work on. We've got some great property managers, team leaders, department managers who work in the business, and I think to keep them and to create that career path, some sort of ownership or percentage or, profit share would be wonderful to see more of. But I think it's a double-edged sword, right? So you've got to have the behaviours and the performance as the person doing the job to have the leader look at you to say, I could actually have a long-term relationship with this person because it's like getting married and it's not easy to get out of when you go into a business partnership. Yeah. I'd love to start this conversation with you around, for those of our listeners who are listening from property management and thinking, hey, I want that long-term security and career. What is the behaviours and performance that you would expect from someone to have before you even started that conversation with them?
So there's a few things I take into consideration and look, this is something I want to do with my team moving forward over the next 12, 18 months. So I've seen, and especially in the industry today, it's really hard to find good quality property managers that stay with your business long term. And I think we need to protect that because let's be honest, without the team, you don't have a business. They're the ones out there working with your clients, providing the service and keeping the day-to-day running of that business happening. So I think it comes down to tenure with the business, but also ownership of that role. Treat it like it's your own. So look after that portfolio like it's your baby. And then from there, you'll have those attributes to be able to be seen to the leaders of the business that, this is a long-term thing for you, and you'll be able to grow the portfolio, you'll build relationships, and from there you'll be able to be seen that you're an integral part of that business to be able to facilitate that next move into whether it is a profit share or a phantom equity or something along those lines.
It's a good point you make. And I think sometimes, my impression is, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you would expect that person, when they come and have a conversation with you about the business, to talk about the business as if it was their own. So instead of doing you've done this and this is not happening, is actually to come back up with solutions around where the business could be more moving forward, which is it's that leadership conversation, isn't it? So there's the title that you get versus the actions that you do. Right?
Definitely.
So, yeah. How do we train people to do that? Because it's not something as an industry that we, say here's a leadership course that everybody in our business goes through. It's, stage one of this, and then leading on from that, you can then elevate to the next level. How do we get people on that journey?
I think it comes back also to, is that the journey they want? Because look, not everyone wants to be the leader. No, everyone wants to be that shining star of a business. And I think that comes down to understanding the person's personality and what they're trying to achieve as well. But you see the traits in people, the organisers, the ones that are happy to take a phone call, look, after hours, or that come up with the solution to the problem before you have, or come to you with the problem but the solution at the same time. So it's those people in your business that are going to protect it and grow it with you, and you've got to take them on that journey. I see so many people leaving the industry at the moment, and it's so hard as a business owner to actually find really good property managers out there at the moment. So I think we've got to protect the ones that we've got and keep them in the industry, and show them that this is a career, it's not just a job.
I'm thinking there, for some reason, that automatically pulled up for me the royal we, making it a bit more of an ownership thing of what people are actually working on and giving them that empowerment in the first place. But obviously that is a two-way street. Casey, how big is the team that you've got now, and how much have you actually grown that?
So the team currently now, I've got a BD in Nicole. Currently I've got 3 senior property managers. I'm looking for my 4th. I've just got to replace one now. And I've got 3 trainees. Now, because it's quite difficult to find the property managers in this space at the moment, we're finding that the trainees, and finding the right trainee, you can train them anything. Like, they're so eager to learn for the right person and the right personality that fits your team. I'm finding it's actually working really well to bring them in and to work directly with the property management team in little pods. So they're kind of teams, they're mini teams. They're not actually just a property manager and an assistant. There's 2 property managers and a trainee in each pod. And then we're replicating the property manager by training them exactly how they do things. They're in their office, they're listening to their conversations. They're mini me's basically, and they're loving it.
A very cool way to be training them. Has it always been that way that you've implemented something like that, or has that had to have been a response to what is happening in the industry more broadly?
So it wasn't a response originally, but now I think they're just so moldable and so eager to learn. So I'm really loving that space at the moment. You give them the right time, the tools, the training. The systems we've got in property management allow us to do this, because everything is so systemized that, depending on what part of it, whether it's arrears or renewals, like, everything's got a checklist and everything's got a procedure that it's quite actually easy for them to follow along and learn quite quickly, because the systems and the structure of our business are in place to allow them to grow. So it's not that we're throwing them in the deep end. We've got the systems around to support the growth and the training. So that allows them to really show their full potential and actually become quite valuable to the business in such a short period of time.
Casey, how big are the pods that you work with?
So each pod's got about 350 properties. So we've got 2 property managers and a trainee in that pod.
It's a good, and how much room for growth do you have in that 350? Like, what could you take it to before you reach capacity?
Look, I don't ever want to take it to capacity. I'm happy to push it probably to about 4, maybe 450, depending on the location and the variables, obviously, of the properties, multiple owners, that type of thing can make it easier or harder. So I think we can definitely get to 4 without moving anything for 450. But it'll just depend on the growth. And obviously, as those trainees get more experience, their ability to be able to take on more roles and do more within that portfolio, you can't really foresee how far it could actually go.
We run a pod system in our business, and we're the same. We can probably push ours to about 450 to 500, and then that's it. We don't want to do any more. We've got 2 PMs and a support person to be shared, and it actually works really, really well within that pod.
Yeah, if you get the right personalities in there for it, it's great. And it allows, like when someone's on holidays, it's not that portfolio sits there unmanaged. You've got a senior PM that knows that portfolio, still there managing it. So you scale back your routines, you drop some stuff just to ensure that they're not flooded for that week or two, but it allows it to keep rolling, and the property manager doesn't come back to hundreds of emails or a task list as high as the roof. They actually can enjoy their break.
It comes into that whole flexible work thing, doesn't it? And makes people more likely, I guess, take leave if they know that they're not going to come back to a deluge, and that's obviously much better for them mentally and emotionally too. But have you seen it, play out? I guess in a more casual, informal, flexible work kind of way?
It worked even when we went into lockdown and we were working remotely for, was it 3-4 months in the end, I think it was. It still worked really well in that scenarios because the teams are so well established, and especially the one pod that I've got with Sarah and Vanessa, they've been working like that together Sarah's been with me 10 years this year, Vanessa's been with me 7. So they know each other and they just fit so well. Vanessa's the organizer of the pod and Sarah's there. She's the go with the flow, don't want to be the shining star, but happy to get in and literally just get the job done. And then Xanthi, who's come into as the new trainee just within the last couple of weeks, her personality just fits theirs, and it works. And you can see it's a fun environment. You hear the giggles and the laughter from the office, but the job's getting done. The KPIs are met. Let them run it how they want to do it.
It's got to be a good feeling for you when you're, responsible for them. You are the leader, and you're hearing that they're enjoying themselves while they're doing the job.
You talk to the girls and you said something like, you have your one-on-one meetings. Is there anything we can improve on? What can we do better? Can I assist you in any way? No, I like work. It doesn't feel like work. The day it feels like work is the day we'll have those hard conversations. But at the moment, it doesn't feel like work. It's just fun. We're friends. So that's the big win out of it.
So, Casey, the world of property management is changing a lot. Certainly COVID has driven so many changes that we never expected to happen. Who would have thought 2 years ago that most of us would be working from home and, working off laptops and
Zooming for podcasts.
Zooming for podcasts, doing contactless move-ins and move-outs. Like who would have thought that contactless would actually become a word in real estate, right? What do you see happening over the next couple of years? Because we've been through some significant changes and it's not going to stop. And I think there's a whole raft of changes coming our way. I'm intrigued to see what you think there might be and how you see this space changing completely.
I just love how fast property management moves and how much we can change and adapt. I actually have to say to the team, come October, I promise I won't make any more changes. We'll just keep it as is and we'll look at this in the next year. So this space is really exciting for me. We are really a high-tech agency. It's all about using the tech to be able to do more. That 1% better every day compounds to 37 times better every year. So it's those little things and those little processes that you need to review every couple of months to just how can we do that better. But I just see it getting faster, and you need to be able to manage more properties down the track. And it's probably moving a little bit from that kind of service industry more to that that process-driven industry to be able to manage more properties. But in the same time, you've got to be there educating your clients and kind of answering those questions before they're asked to be able to build that trust and those relationships with people.
And managing more properties means that you've got to get the tech to do all the heavy admin lifting for you so that the property manager can focus on relationships. Service, right? I think if you take a traditional office that existed 3 years ago versus perhaps yours, how you run your business would never work in a traditional business. But the challenges we face in a traditional business, which is the lack of time, the stress, the issues around job satisfaction, client satisfaction, loss of business, the pressure on fees, that will never change until you adapt the technology piece. Would you agree with that?
Definitely. And the tech's there to enhance and support the customer experience, but the people are there to build the relationships. Tech won't ever take over a property manager's job when it can't work on relationships and can't build relationships.
We're going to go to a break right now, but we'll be back soon with more from Casey Healey.
Creating wealth through property investing starts with getting the right finance in place. At Finny Mortgages, our brokers specialise in investment loans. We know the ropes to get even the most complex deals approved fast. With easy access to over 50 lenders, we have the know-how and connections to get better rates, improve cash flow and release equity fast. So if you're looking for a mortgage broker that gets property investment, book in a call with a Finny broker now. Head to finny.com.au, that's finni.com.au today.
Welcome back to this episode of The Wire. We're joined by Casey Healey up in Newcastle. Casey, Newcastle, it's a metro area, but in a region, bit different probably to some of, every area is unique, isn't it? But there is kind of a unique vibe being a Newcastle girl myself up there that would have, affected the way that you would have to build up that rent roll. A lot, I'm guessing, has changed since you first would have left school and jumped into property management. What have some of the biggest changes been through that period of time?
I think one of the biggest things is just how people want to be communicated and how fast they want to be communicated with. So back when I first started, I used to dial in for internet and like no one would send an email.
And you couldn't use the phone and the internet at the same time?
And you'd maybe get 5 a day. Yeah. Where now you wake up every morning and you're checking your inbox and you've got 50 or 70 emails in there. So as an agency, we're trying to find how do people actually want to be communicated with and kind of working with them on what works for them. And it kind of come to light from our recent NPS survey and the response we got from that was sent via email. So from that, I've kind of implemented and worked with a tech company using an SMS platform. So being able to communicate with tenants and landlords, we're calling it our property management text line. And it allows us to have quick conversations with people, how they want to talk to us. And whether it's around lease renewals, whether it's around arrears or even just communications with landlords, when you can't get hold of someone, how much better is it, rather than leaving a voicemail that no one really checks, to send them a quick message saying, hey, just called you, was just in relation to this, have any issues, either text me back here or give me a call. So we're using that for that process. We communicated with our tenants over Christmas. So when our office was closed, we communicated with our tenants on, hey, here's a copy or a link to our Christmas closure procedures. Here's where you can lodge maintenance. Here's where you can pay rent online if you need to, or if not, text us here if it's an emergency and we'll get back to you. So it's the kind of the quickest form of contact with the fastest response time that we're trying to educate our landlords and tenants to communicate with us moving forward, because I think it's about 90-something% of tenants or people in general will reply to a text rather than replying to an email.
I just was going to make a comment that we've had SMS technology for so long now that it's proof that it's not always the shiniest new gadget that's going to be what actually allows you to communicate and works for people.
And how much time has that given back to your property manager? Because that's a critical thing, is giving them time back through the SMSs. Is it one person who manages it or is it automated? How does that work?
No, so there's an app, but then there's also the web portal platform that we can access. And you actually can, so you could have 50 users using this one platform. And when the text messages come back in, if they've sent it, it comes back to them and kind of assigns to each property manager. So it's not that you have this big inbox then of all these text messages. They actually go back to the person that's originally sent them. If not, they come to the inbox, the communal inbox, which I at the moment monitor because it's new tech and we're still implementing it. But there's ways to move forward to assign that to one person within the agency to be responsible for that.
And does it connect with your existing property management systems, or does it sit separately?
No, it sits separately.
And that is a frustration, isn't it, for the industries? The tech stack don't talk to each other, and we've got to...
I would love to create the one piece of tech that has all these little plugins that work together. I seriously think these tech people need to come and talk to property managers before they start moving forward.
Which is a good point in itself, because we do see, well, we always have, and we talked about it before on this show, Sadhana, about how the sales side usually gets all the love, and that has flowed through to the conversations that are being had with tech providers and startups. The property management side has always, whether we like it or not, and whether they should be or not, neglected the property management side of things a bit more, which is why I think it's so important, Casey, that we have people like you that are in charge of businesses.
It's the asset to the business. I don't understand why property management has always been sat in the back of the office. It's your asset. Protect your asset, grow your asset, because when it comes time to sell that business, what it's based off is the asset of the property management rent roll. It feeds your sales department like it.
I'm going to ask you a controversial question then, because I'm with you. It's your asset. And I think one of the things that really gets my gander up, it's probably the most polite way that I can say this, is agents who constantly drop their fees on property management. And in our marketplace, we compete with agents who are doing it for 3 to 3.5%. Wow. They're literally making $7 a week on the property, less than $500 a year on an annum. And by doing that, we're decreasing the client's expectation on what they pay for service, which they see as valuable service. And then when we go in at our 6% or 7%, they kind of go, oh, but I can get it for 3%. Why would I pay 6%? And I remember working in this industry at a time when fees weren't deregulated, and it was a very different world then. How do we stop this? How do we stop agents devaluing what they do? Because we're worth more than 3.5% or 3% out in the marketplace, and we've got to change that. But how do we do that?
Good question. I think it comes down to...
I said we don't do hard questions on this show.
I know, sorry.
Throw me the curveballs, all good. I think it comes back down to also education of your BD, education of your PM team, that how much is a property worth? People, property managers, BD, sometimes don't know what's your break-even point. What does it actually cost you to manage that property? If they knew what it costs them to actually manage a property, that it's actually not worth having this management, then
I'm gonna challenge you there, Casey. I reckon most business owners don't know what it costs them to manage a property.
They don't.
Yeah. And I think the education piece starts at the leadership piece, is to get them to understand if this is your asset you're going to sell in the long term, what does it cost you to manage a property? What don't you want your BDMs to go below? Because I think, if BDMs are given carte blanche, go out and just list property, doesn't matter what you bring them at, they are going to do that, right? But I think it's the level up that we need to work on.
Definitely. We've got a spreadsheet in our office. So what's our break-even point? What will we move on our management fee? And obviously it's going to fluctuate a little bit depending on the price of the property. But we've got a set goal of what we want to achieve, annualised management fee per property. And we don't kind of go below that. If we need to, Nicole will come to me and say, hey, I've got this property, this owner's looking to come on, there's this and this potential, then we might look at it. But if there's no potential, then it's not worth it. And even down to the fact is, we don't take on properties that aren't well presented. Like, you don't want to give your property managers any more of a headache than what they're dealing with. Hard owners that don't want to do repairs. When someone's trying to chop your fee, there's usually a reason, and that's the big warning sign for us.
Casey, I love that you're, a director. You're at that level, and a lot of these conversations would be needing to come from you. I can't even imagine the kind of conversations that you have had to have in the past. But how do your conversations go in the business when you are trying to explain this? You know, you've obviously got some good buy-in there. Is it less of a challenge for you because you have been at the business for so long, when you're trying to explain things to people that maybe don't understand just how important that property management side is?
Yeah, I guess it was a learning space. So when coming into the business, I always just treated it as my own. And it comes back to that continual learning and having the right mentors and coaches in your space to actually be able to lead you to grow. And look, I'm definitely not the best leader out there. Like I try my hardest, but it's a continual learning even for me. I guess I've got a great culture within our business and I've got great buy-in from our team. So it makes these conversations easier. That look, everything I do is for them. My job, they're my clients. So our clients are their clients, but my clients are my team. So I don't want to make their job harder. Every bit of tech we implement, it's either going to enhance the customer experience or it's going to enhance my team's experience. It's not there because it makes me more money.
What a great attitude to have to it all. We're going to take another break there. We'll be back soon with more from Casey Healey. Welcome back to this episode of The Wire. We're joined by Casey Healey, Principal of the Year Metro at REB's Women in Real Estate Awards for 2021 and a director with C21 Newcastle. Casey, we've gotten to that point of the episode where we ask our guests the same questions week in and week out. We get some great insight behind the scenes, behind the professional persona of all of our guests, and you are no different. So my first question for you, Casey, is simply, if you could go back in time and give your 16-year-old self any advice, what would it be?
I think it comes back to actually believing in yourself and believing in what you can achieve and to have big ambitions and to back yourself. You've always got this little voice in your head that says, actually, I don't think I'm actually good enough for what I'm doing right now. And I think it comes back to believing in yourself and backing yourself, put in the hard yards, and you'll achieve what you want to achieve. Nothing's impossible. Jump in with another question there, which is simply, did you have any idea that you would end up in property management, you know, running an agency at 16? No idea. Was it even on your horizon? Property management, like I was just going for the admin job. I was just out of school, like needed a full-time job, wanted to leave school. I haven't even finished year 12. And that's when I kick myself and go, oh my God, you're running a business and you don't even have like this, any extra education. I've done a few courses here and there, but completely self-taught, but that's okay. You learn along the way. And as long as you're continually learning, you can't go wrong. Good on you. So then, to anyone who is looking looking to follow the career path that you've taken, do you have any advice for them as well? Just put the right people in your circle, have the right mentors, the coaches. I think my business really elevated once I got myself a coach, and it was at a stage where my business partner was looking into retirement and to step out of the business. And I was like, wow, this is literally, it's all coming on my head now. I've got no safety net. And that's when I collaborated with other agents around. I got myself a coach. And from there, it's really allowed me on this great trajectory that our business is on now.
Casey, well done. Congratulations on all the success. And I can looking forward to what the future holds for you. I'm sure you'll be on the award list for many, many years to come. Thank you. My question to you is, what book or books have you read that you would like to share with our listeners? And what Netflix online show or podcast are you binging on right now? I'm reading at the moment The Toyota Way. It's a really long book, but it's all about those little 1%. So how can you change things, just that little 1% to make it better? So that little procedural changes to whether it's to increase profit, to make things easier, taking that lease renewal process, which is 37 steps. How can we break it down to 10? How can we get more out of the time that we have? And podcast or online show? Netflix. Look, I don't really love a series because I get too into it and I sit there and watch it all weekend and I'm like, where's that time gone? Last week I watched the end of
the second series of Amy in Paris. But podcasts, I just like the real estate podcasts, something mindset, all of those type of podcasts. I love to listen on the way to work. It just sets me in the right framework for the day.
I love that Emily in Paris as well. It's the most ridiculous show, but I watch it just the fashion, like the clothes that she wears. It's become a very girly podcast all of a sudden, but I try not to tell anyone, and now I just told the whole real estate world that that's what I've been binging on. But, you know.
Great minds think alike, see?
Yeah, and now that we can't actually travel overseas, although that will be changing it's changing soon now, but we all need a bit of escapism in our lives, don't we?
Absolutely. And my final question to you, Casey, is what's your favourite quote?
Probably got a couple. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. I've stood by that since I was young. Me and my best friend were always like, what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. You can probably interpret it back to business today and to taking risks and to learning and growing and moving outside your comfort zone. So that's probably the biggest and my favorite quote that I use the most, but also like there's no I in team. Everything's about the team for me.
And I can tell just by talking, that embodies everything that you talked us through today. So Casey, congratulations on the recent award win and everything you are doing. It's obviously a very exciting time for you and the business and the team that you're leading as well. So best of luck with, the next 12 months and whatever it brings your way.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here. It was great to chat with you guys.
I'm super excited to stay in touch with you, Casey. To everyone who is listening along at home, at the gym, wherever you are, make sure you're liking or reviewing us on whatever platform that you do use to listen in, and stay up to date with all the latest real estate news at realestatebusiness.com.au and our Facebook, Twitter and LinkedIn, as well as our Instagram. That is all we have time for today. Stay safe and well. Bye-bye.